Hello, my name is Kirioth, and today we are going to be painting a risen foot soldier from Rivenstone. Now, before we get into the meat of it, I should point out that this video is in fact sponsored by Rivenstone, which you can find on Kickstarter right now, and they very kindly sent me a risen foot soldier to take a look at and to paint up, and he is Sire Cast. Now, this is a material that I have not used before. If you're used to plastics, then you'll find that plastic glue does not work on this particular material. Super glue works just fine though. It feels pretty durable to me. There's a bit of give here and there, but it doesn't feel like anything's ever going to snap. I've never actually worked with this before, but it was just as easy to paint as anything that I've had in plastic. And you know what? Just for a second there, I nearly went for a nice, clean, fresh style, but it's me. It's me, and I can't resist the grime. I can't resist the dirt, the rust. Plus, if you've got a skeletal lad wrapped in bandages, you've got to throw a bit of that aging and weathering on there, right? You can't have him looking all pristine. I mean, you can if you want to paint him that way, but that's not the way I did it. How I did it was like this. It started with a black base coat using Colourforge matte black spray because I'm nothing if not a creature of habit. At first I thought I was going to do the cloth red, but I couldn't resist falling back on my favourite combination of colours, which is of course Huldra Blue from Scale 75 and Adriatic Blue from Scale 75 and Ice Yellow from Vallejo. I had to use those for this because I love a nice kind of bluey, turquoisey cloak, and this model has got some really nice cloth on it that is absolutely perfect for a bit of dry brushing. So naturally that's exactly what I did. I dry brushed from Huldra Blue up to Ice Yellow. Only did a tiny bit of the Ice Yellow. What you want to do is get a nice base coat of the Huldra Blue and then build up by mixing a little bit of the Adriatic Blue with it, and then move up to pure Adriatic Blue to get a nice build up of dark to light. Now I did this to all of the cloth except for the boots and gloves, even though I knew that later on I was probably going to make the hood black. I included the hood even though I knew that I was going to go over that with black, because I was going to use contrast paint from Games Workshop, the Black Templar contrast to be precise, because I still wanted it to have a bit of cool, a bit of blue in there, and dry brushing up to lighter colours still means you get that kind of nice light edge on the folds and things that is what contrast is designed for. I decided to do the main body of the shield in the same colours as the cloth because it has a nice kind of flat surface broken up by that icon in the middle, and I like getting that kind of blending effect that you can achieve with a bit of stippling on that kind of surface. Once I was happy with the cloth, I moved on to the boots and gloves, which I did in Rhinox hide, so a nice deep, dark, reddy brown. And then I did the bandages in white, specifically Vallejo's premium air colour white. I use that because even though I'm using a brush, it's already thinned down. It's just the right consistency for getting a nice, consistent white with just a couple of coats. It's not too thick, it doesn't go on too splodgy or blotchy, it just works really well, especially for things like bandages, I found. Once that was done, it was time to move on to doing the metallics, which was just a coat of lead belcher at this stage. I decided pretty early on that I wanted to quite heavily weather the metallics on this model, given the context of him. He's a risen foot soldier, he is a skeletal lad, he needs a nice bit of weathering, a nice bit of rust, so I didn't go overboard in terms of building up from dark metallics to light metallics, because I knew a lot of it would most likely be covered with some sort of streak and grime and a bit of rust effect as well. Now before we carry on with painting this lad, you'll probably want to know a little bit about the game Rivenstone itself, so you got some nice context for this really quite good model. Rivenstone is a brand new tabletop skirmish war game from Broken Anvil, set in a fantasy world where magic is a physical resource, which I love by the way, which grows in great crystalline deposits called Rivenstone. And you can probably tell already that it's not just a case of this being a game, this is an actual world that's going to be expanded on with lore and artwork and fiction. It is a fully rounded setting. The game itself is alternating activation skirmish style, with easy to understand rules that make it easy to play. Players' warbands typically consist of between 8 and 15 models, so it's nice and accessible and easy to get into. Plus the starter boxes for each of the factions contain a fully playable warband, so once you've picked one up, you have got something that you can use on the tabletop straight away. You can get a good feel for the art style of this game and the direction of the miniatures from the Risen Foot Soldier that we're painting today, and I've got to say personally, I really like the style of these. I'm struggling to think of another game that has a style similar. I really enjoy it. The Kickstarter campaign for Rivenstone is still going on, so you can head over using the link in the description to take a look yourselves. If you've got any questions about it, you can join the Rivenstone Discord, and for a full dive into the game and the world itself, you can head over to rivenstonegame.com. So a big thank you to Rivenstone for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to painting our lad. Now that we've got our metallics down, it's time to do some of the more fiddly stuff. Now to finish off the boots and gloves, just took some brown leather from Army Painter and dry brushed it on. To bring it out that little bit more, added a touch of ice yellow to it just to really hit the edges. So we need to make sure that we actually pick out the bone on this model. There's a nice skull face coming out of the hood, there's some exposed ribs front and back which we need to cover as well, and it's time for some contrast action to properly bring all of that stuff out. There's plenty of methods for painting good bone out there, but to be honest, I tend to fall back on using contrast. It's just easier. Base it with a bit of Screaming Skull from Citadel, then chuck on some Skeleton Horde contrast from Citadel and you're kind of away. Also took this opportunity to go over the hood with black contrast, cover the icon on the shield with black contrast as well, and take it down the 2 strips of cloth either side of the chainmail on the front of the model. Nice and simple, nice and easy, although I did accidentally manage to get a little bit outside of that central icon for the shield. Luckily, using a bit of water to just spread it around essentially created a wash for the rest of the shield surface, so I managed to fix that up nice and quick. Now with all the colour, all the bandages, all the metallics, all of that done, it's time to get the streak and grime out. It's an inevitable step in so many of the things I paint, but I figured it would work pretty well here. It's also the thing I really like using for making dirty, rough, like soiled bandages, things that have been wrapped up for ages where decay has started to set in or perhaps blood has started to soak through. I really like the effect it leaves and it's become my go-to for making something look really grotty. Also applied it to all of the metallics, some of which would be completely covered in rust, but some of which wouldn't, and I wanted a little bit of tarnish, a little bit of dirt and grime to be trapped in there, just to really sell the idea of this being old and battered. Now once we've got all the relevant areas covered in streak and grime, we just take a cotton bud, dip it in some white spirit, and then gently rub it away. In some cases you just want to poke it and let it soak, in others you want to do a little bit of a rubbing motion, but not too much in case you start rubbing away the paint underneath. This just allows this streak and grime to kind of reset and settle into all the recesses on the model. Now honestly we could have left it there, but I've been a little bit addicted to dirty down rust effect, which has been a thing for a long time in the special effects industry, but it's more recently kind of been a bit of a big hit among hobbyists as well, and I've started using it for a lot of stuff, and I really liked the idea of this particular foot soldier having an axe that was almost entirely rusted through, so that's exactly what we did. This stuff is basically magic. I have no idea how it works. You may as well tell me a wizard did it and I would absolutely believe you, because it comes out as a kind of orangey brown goop. You put it on the model and it becomes a realistic and very nice looking rust effect within, it feels like, absolutely no time at all. And the thing is, it's water soluble, so you can move it around after the fact. You can layer it up to make it thicker and more dirty. You can do so much with this stuff, and I still have no idea how it even worked. What I do know is that when you're painting a risen foot soldier, having a bunch of rust kinda feels like it fits, and that's exactly what I did. Now admittedly in some cases this kind of rendered the streak and grime section a little bit redundant, especially on the axe, but then again, now we have a really cool axe, and that's the most important thing. As a finishing touch, used some Hexwraith Flame from Citadel to light up the eyes a little bit, also dry brushed some Rhinox hide onto the bottom of the clothes just to give them a bit more of a dirty, worn look. And finally the model was based with my favourite method, PVA glue, some basing scatter, and some tufts. And that is our Risen Foot Soldier finished. I have to say, I really enjoyed working on this. I really enjoyed painting this model. There's loads of character, there's loads of detail, the quality of it was really good, the actual, cast itself was super detailed. I didn't have to do much, if anything, in the way of cleaning. I just really enjoyed it. It's a great model, and I'm kind of looking forward to painting, hopefully, a lot more. So once again, thank you Rivenstone for sponsoring this video. You can find all of the information for the game in the description down below. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think of this in the comments, and I will see you for the next one.